federal judicial system and most state judicial systems in the U.S. are constructed like a pyramid. So basically you have at the bottom level of the pyramid, down here, you have the trial courts, and they can be called different things. In California, they're called superior courts. In Wisconsin, they're called circuit courts. Confusingly enough, in New York, they're called Supreme Courts, but forget about that because, like I said, that's confusing. In any event, the bottom layer is the trial courts, okay? And there will be many of those throughout the state. Those courts have original jurisdiction. That's where you file your case, whether it's a civil case or a criminal case. That's where it starts. That's where trials are held and facts are determined, okay? Jury trials, typically in criminal cases. If you don't like what happened at trial, you can appeal your case, and then you move up the pyramid to the next level, to the courts of appeals. And so there are going to be fewer of these instead of all scattered throughout the state like circuit courts or superior courts, trial courts, right? There will be just a few regionally throughout the state, and those appellate courts hear appeals. They try to decide whether the trial court screwed up, and if it did, they will reverse and remand. So they'll say, trial court, you made a mistake, you did this wrong, we're remanding. In other words, we're sending it back down to you to fix it. Okay? Sometimes you go to the Court of Appeals or one side or the other doesn't like what happened at the Court of Appeals, and so they appeal it again, and it goes then to the top of the pyramid, which is the Supreme Court. And again, this basically works the same. You've got think of the United States as all pyramids, okay? There's one pyramid, which is the federal court system, and that's the U.S. Supreme Court at the top, U.S. Court of Appeals in the middle, and what they federal system calls district courts, their trial courts, at the bottom layer, okay? And then for each state, there's another pyramid for that state, right? So that's how it works. And then the way it works as far as precedent goes is within your jurisdiction, within your pyramid, I guess, your court has to follow what it did in the past and what other courts above it did in the past. So in other words, California courts would follow what the California Supreme Court and the California Court of Appeals says, but they wouldn't have to follow what a court in Arkansas says. Well, although they might consider it persuasive, they wouldn't have to follow what that court says. On the other hand, the federal courts, the U.S. Supreme Court, is the sole arbiter of the U.S. Constitution, which is a major issue in many, many criminal cases. So that's why you get cases like Miranda versus Arizona, for example, or Mapp versus Ohio, right? They're Arizona case, an Ohio case, but they went to the U.S. Supreme Court. Why is that? Because what was being decided was of constitutional dimension. It was questions about interpretation of the U.S. Constitution, and the U.S. Supreme Court gets to make that interpretation. So basically, that's how the court systems are constructed. The federal system, and then all the state systems, okay? And that's how they relate to each other.